The one that I'll probably focus on here just briefly before I wrap up is the development of a national crime prevention framework. The reason I focus on it is it's actually a culmination of a lot of the work that we've been doing in crime prevention, in that we've collected a lot of information and collective knowledge over the period of time that we've been working in the area, and we have a fairly strong understanding now, at least within the agency I think, of what's needed to support effective crime prevention and what is actually required to develop and also implement programs that are actually going to make a significant impact on crime and safety. A lot of the work that we've been doing has been looking at crime prevention programs that have a community-based approach. So they're developed centrally, but they're implemented by local practitioners. Again, as I described, police, local government, etc. Obviously, there's a number of important things that are important in supporting those community groups, those local agencies, in actually delivering effective crime prevention. I've listed some of them there. Some of them may seem fairly obvious, but that's not always the case, that some of these more simple things get overlooked in the development of a program. These are the findings and the recommendations from our review of the NCCPP. It's something that unfortunately has never been publicly released, but was finished in about 2007-2008. And these again have helped us to inform what has now become the development of the National Crime Prevention Framework. And you'll see that these recommendations have actually been adapted to a framework that will actually provide clear leadership and direction to crime prevention in Australia. This is, as I said, the National Crime Prevention Framework, and it actually emerged out of a request for the AIC to do some work with the Senior Officers Group, the National Australian New Zealand Crime Prevention Senior Officers Group. They contracted us to facilitate a Futures Forum, which is actually bringing all of the crime prevention agencies together, and we did a background paper that was reviewing all of the evidence around different types of crime, different drivers of crime, key crime trends, international good practice in crime prevention, so forth, and putting that together in a way that would actually help inform a discussion around the future of crime and crime prevention in Australia. The direct result of this was that we were actually then subsequently funded to develop a national crime prevention framework. It's actually quite a big coup for the AIC, because there's actually not been a national framework or a national strategy for crime prevention for some years. And so actually having the ability to develop something that would actually help drive crime prevention and also inform the development of national and state and territory strategies is actually a really important piece of work. As you can see from the points I've got there, the national framework aims to support a more coordinated approach between crime prevention agencies in addressing issues of national importance. It's designed to promote an improved level of collaboration, improve the effectiveness of crime prevention across Australia by setting some, for lack of a better term, minimum standards around what's actually good practice and what's not. Increasing commitment to crime prevention. If anyone, I don't know, has any sort of experience in crime prevention, you may have noticed that there's been somewhat of a decline in terms of, agency support and also the size of some of the agencies in Australia, and a shift in the focus of crime prevention in recent years. It's also going to help, well, we hope, and I should preface all of this by saying that it's still going through the process and has to be approved by Ministerial Council of Emergency and Emergency Management Police. MCPEMP. It's got an awesome name. And so they still have to approve this, but we've actually recently submitted it for consideration and approval. But yeah, it'll also help guide the allocation of resources for crime prevention. As I said, the framework draws extensively on our work in crime prevention and the findings from our work. And I know I'm about to run out of time, but these are the principles that we've identified over time as being absolutely critical and fundamental to effective crime prevention. Again, having some sort of strong leadership at all levels of government is a critical feature of effective crime prevention. Collaboration, it's obviously whole of government and all of those sorts of buzzwords are obviously floated around when it comes to crime prevention, but it's actually really critical that police work with local government, work with local community organisations, and there's actually a really wide range of agencies involved in crime prevention. Other key principles obviously have been that crime prevention needs to be targeted, needs to be focused on actually delivering positive outcomes. Crime prevention has probably been somewhat immune, I guess, to the trend in evidence-based policy to some degree, and that there's actually there's a lot more evidence around criminal justice responses to crime problems than there is probably around crime prevention. And so it's actually a really important focus of our work, which is actually improving that evidence base. I won't go through too many of the others, other than to say that, I mean, ultimately, these are not necessarily new principles, but putting them together in obviously a national framework is important in actually guiding practice. I'll just end by two quick slides. The first is the priority areas that were identified for our national framework to guide crime prevention going into the future, and looking particularly at the next 5 years. We identified 5 sort of key focus areas for, in terms of a national approach to crime prevention. They're listed there: alcohol-related violence, young people, Indigenous people, child abuse and neglect, and violence against women. These were identified both in negotiation with each of the crime prevention agencies, but also looking obviously at the evidence base, including the AIC's evidence and also literature and research that have been conducted across Australia into different crime problems. The other priority that highlights is the need for each jurisdiction to focus on local issues to address new and emerging crime problems. Ray's going to talk to you about, I'm not sure exactly the specific, but around high-tech crime and money laundering, I think. It's also about, as I've already discussed, improving the evidence base for crime prevention, and the last point is actually capacity building and technical assistance, which I'll actually end on this slide. This is one of the key directions for the AIC in the next few years, well, certainly in the next 12 months. It's actually about translating all of the work that we've done into a practical and usable form that can actually be applied both by policymakers and practitioners, and actually developing resources and tools that can be used and can be applied to a variety of different circumstances to address a variety of different problems. You may have seen or come across some of the work that we've already done in our research and practice series, but this is something that we're going to be focusing on, delivering a range of different publications, training and materials that we hope will actually be used to inform and assist practitioners and policy in actually developing and implementing effective programs.